I never saw that guy again, but I'll never forget him.
A rising star, Rajée Singh, the author of Beyond Face Value. Thank you so much for talking to me once again, and thank you for being on Memory Lane.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. You and I, we go back a ways. I had time with you last year interviewing, and now here we are again.
I know. We knew each other from the post-Trisha days.
I know.
And you know what? We can take solace in the fact that we've both outlived at least that show.
Oh, definitely. I know. Isn't that something? Wow. And then since then, so much has happened.
Yes.
You know?
Beyond the book that you have published and continues to gain more readers, you can be seen on the E! Network on Botched, which is a reality show centering around plastic surgery. Several, different filmmakers, TV producers have been interested in you. We have on YouTube The Real Heat. So there's many projects that you have been interested in and have been participating in, but today we're going to not necessarily talk about your public side, but your more private side. And we're going to go into your memories and see where they lead us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Here we go. I'm a little nervous about what's going to come up, but I'm going for it.
Well, everyone kind of is, but it just kind of leads itself. So what I would ask you to do is, are you in a comfortable position?
I am.
Good. So please close your eyes and begin to breathe very deeply, almost as if you have done yoga before in the past. Breathe deeply, as deep as you can, through your mouth, and then breathe out through your nose, and just continue this rhythm. Breathing deeper in and out, feeling your breath fill your lungs and leave, becoming very conscious of the weight of your body upon whatever it is that you're sitting on, and feel the floor or the chair, feel the air moving around you. Feel the weight of your head. Feel your limbs become so conscious of the world around you and your place on it. And now, as you're breathing, reach deep back into your memory. Back into not only your visual memory, but your sensory memory. I would like you to recall a memory, good, bad, or mixed, where you can now think of that memory, and it is so strong. It is something you could never forget. It is something that you will never be able to forget. That when you think of this memory, you fall back into it, and all of your senses are engaged. And when you are back, and you feel like you're in this place, please share with us what your memory is.
Well, I'm going back to probably about 5th grade, and my mom used to let me walk up to the avenue. There was an avenue with stores not too far from the house, and they had a pizza place there, and for $1.50 you could get a slice of pizza and a soda. So, I'd come home from school, and, sometimes she'd let me walk up to the avenue and treat myself, get a slice of pizza and soda, and then come on back, and then I could do my homework or whatever. I remember walking and feeling happy because I was looking forward to that delicious slice of pizza and my Coca-Cola, because at the time I was addicted to that stuff. I loved soda and Coca-Cola. I'm Sprite now, but Coke was it then. So, and I was walking up, and as a child, I would say pretty happy-go-lucky. I stood out very much because of the fact that I was an effeminate little boy. And I looked very different from a lot of the kids that I went to school with because of my multiracial background. So I had like this unique, different look. And then on top of it, me being effeminate, I was like, a big-time target for bullying. But I kept, I pressed on, and I'm still my happy-go-lucky self, and I'm excited about this slice of pizza and soda that I'm going to have. And I walked into the pizza shop, and I ordered my slice of pizza, and I had my soda, sat down, and, I enjoyed the pizza. Oh, my God, it was delicious, and, the soda, and I just, I had a good time eating my pizza. And so when I was done, I got up and I knew I had to get home because I had homework to do. So I got up and I hastily left the pizza place. And I got about a block, maybe half a block down. And I remembered, oh, my God, my hat, my winter hat, because the kids in school were bullying me, and there was one particular kid that was taking my hat and gloves, but I was too embarrassed to tell my parents, so I would just act like I lost them. So it was just the embarrassment of, like, I know the next question was, well, what are they saying and why are they picking on you? And I was just too embarrassed, to say, oh, well, they're calling me faggot and sissy. And so I would just act like I was losing them, but really they were being taken. So I rushed back to the shop because I'm like, oh, my God, my mom just bought me this hat. I can't, I have to get this hat. So when I burst through the doors, there were a group of guys, probably maybe like 16, 17, in that range. And they were sitting at the table that I had been sitting at. And I walked over to the table and I said, excuse me, did you all find a hat? And the guy said, oh, you mean this hat? And I said, yeah. And he acted like he was going to hand it to me, and he snatched it back. Yeah, we'll give it to you. Come on. And they all get up, and, like, they're walking out the door, but they're kind of, like, dangling. You know how, like, you're dangling something? And I'm, like, running behind them. And so here it is. We end up on the avenue, and I'm in the middle. They surrounded me. And one guy acts like he's handing the hat to me, and then he pulls it away, and he throws it to the other one, and they're, like, throwing it back and forth to each other. It was probably about 4 or 5 guys. And they were a lot older than me because I was, like, in 5th grade, so I was probably, like, 10 maybe. And they were, like I said, 16, 17. So anyway, I started to cry because, it was like, there was an innuendo of me being gay and a sissy. They started saying, then they started actually calling me the name. And I'm so upset because all I want to do is get my hat and go home. And, they're just having a field day with me. And out of the blue, this guy comes out of nowhere. I had seen him in the neighborhood before, and he was probably in his, like, 20s, maybe like 25, something like that, 23, 24, 25, in that range. So he comes out of nowhere, and he comes over to me, and he says, what's going on? And, and I was crying, and I told him that they took my hat, and, they're not giving it back to me. And he went over to the guy that had my hat, and he snatched it out of his hand. And he said, if you want to pick on someone your own size. He told all the guys off, and he walked over to me, and he handed me my hat, and he said, are you okay? And I was still kind of crying because it was more than just the hat at that point. I was embarrassed. I was just, there was like a shame. I said, I'm okay. And he's like, well, I'll walk with you if you need me to walk you home. And I said, no, that's okay. He said, well, I'm going to walk with you a few blocks anyway. during that walk, he talked to me and he told me, he said, not to pay attention, at what the kids or the kids in the neighborhood or people are saying to me, that that I'm a beautiful person, and to always remember that, and to walk with my head up high. Don't make anyone make me feel like I'm less than. And I was hearing him, but I was so devastated at the same time, and it's like I'm hearing the words, and I guess they were going in my consciousness, because here, so many years later, I'm in my 40s, and I can tell the story like it was just yesterday. That moment has been like a memory that I've kept with me all these years, and I think it's kind of a metaphor for what my life has been. There's always like that one person that acts as like God's angel that comes to my rescue or my support. I never saw that guy again, but I'll never forget him. I'll never forget him. I don't even know if he's still on the planet. But, he touched my life, and I'm so grateful to him, and I keep that in mind. And I think this memory is so important for people to hear, because, you don't know, by just doing a kind gesture, by speaking up for someone, how much it can impact their life. And even though I've never seen him again, that soul that was in that body touched me eternally, because I'm sure I will live the rest of my life with that memory, and with what that memory means to me. It just, when I think of that memory, it just speaks to the overall theme of my life up to this point.
Had anybody ever said words like that to you before?
Not really. But, when I was growing up, there was a shame that was basically put on you. It was done intentionally and also unintentionally, I think because of the mentality of people. And so, you were embarrassed about what you were feeling and what you thought you were, because I was already being called faggot at 4 years old, and I didn't even know what the word meant. But I knew that whatever it meant, it couldn't be a quote-unquote good thing. And so that shame, and the shame of with your family, because, your family are giving you the messages that it's not right. The shame of the neighborhood, because you're getting the messages from the neighborhood that what you are and what you feel isn't right. The shame of your schoolmates. I mean, and just society as a whole. So when someone tells you something like that, and at that age, by 10, I had already, I'm sure, had a good bit of shame and about myself and my feelings. So to hear that come from somebody, it was so profound. And I think it was like an anchor for me, to help me get to the next day.
So going back to that group of 16 or 17-year-old teenagers, when you think about this memory and this situation, why do you think they decided to interact with you the way they did?
I think that they saw someone that appeared vulnerable. I think they saw someone that they took their niceness for weakness, because I was a very, very friendly and loving child. And I even used to have people ask me, why do I smile so much? What am I so happy for? And misery loves company. And I think people, when they see that, sometimes they want to rain on your parade. It's like, why are they so happy? I don't feel that way, so they shouldn't feel that way. And so I experienced a lot of that growing up. I they preyed on me and probably felt that I was weak and I could be taken advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really that weakness and kindness, and almost the way they saw that was vulnerability. Anybody could have seen vulnerability there. Why do you think they chose to be predatory towards you?
Mm. For some reason, boys did that to me from a real young age. There was a point in time, I think it was sixth grade, I couldn't even stand in the schoolyard to wait for the bell to ring. I would have to stand at my door and literally wait to hear the first bell and run like a block and a half into my school to get to class before the second bell rang, because the boys they targeted me. And I think there's something about, and through my life I've observed this, there's something about a male being effeminate that society, and especially men, have not been able to really handle well. Hopefully that's changing. I mean, with all this awareness now, and Bruce Jenner coming out, and and all of the different trans activists out there and gay activists. And it's a double standard, because girls, and I'll give you an example, little girls growing up, it's a little more lax in the sense of like them being able to express their emotions. When little boys start crying, you hear parents say, "Oh, stop that crying! You're acting like a sissy, or you're acting like a little girl." Like they're taught to like stifle their emotions early, because boys aren't supposed to be emotional. Little girls can walk down the block holding hands, and it's not a problem. If two little boys are doing it, oh my God, like the world's going to end.
Yes.
And, so it was like this double standard. And I think because I was born, a little boy, a male, and I'm this effeminate little boy looking very exotic and different and unique, that people, especially the boys, preyed on me. They just preyed on me. And I think, too, a lot of them were attracted to it. And, it's kind of that thing when you're fearful of something. I had a guy that used to pick on me horribly in junior high and elementary and junior high school. And when we graduated from high school, that same guy was hitting on me. So, and that was another eye-opener moment.
Do you think that, these boys that were just picking on you for years and years, do you think the presence of an effeminate or a feminine boy threatened their masculinity? Do you think they felt that way?
I do. I think because, see, what I've also noticed with, like, some of my boyfriends, when I say my boyfriends, meaning my buddies, that were guys growing up, is that as time went on, organically, they would start to kind of treat me like their girlfriends. It was like, because they're feeding off. We feed off energy.
Yes.
So I'm giving, I guess, like this female, feminine girl energy, and they're reacting to it. So I think for a lot of the boys that picked on me, I think it was because they were getting these feelings that they were being told was wrong to feel, and then they get angry at me and blame me for the feeling. It's kind of like, as an adult trans woman now, a guy that maybe I attract that sees me out in the street and he's attracted to me, but he doesn't know I'm trans yet. And then when he realizes, he approaches me and flirts with me, and then he realizes that he gets angry because how dare I attract him? But it was, just him reacting on his feelings, but then he's going to blame me for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it gets real complex.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though there is a lot of this awareness, of course, because it's uncomfortable to speak about, there's not a lot of discussion about this part of the nature of bullying, because even though there is discussion about sexuality and even transsexuality, there is still not a lot of discussion about the foundations and gender roles. That's not really discussed as much.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. Every society in the world has their quote-unquote gender rules. The way a guy is supposed to act in that society, or a male is supposed to act in that society. The way a woman is supposed to act in that society. And the role of a male and a woman in that particular society. So if you're someone that, like, falls somewhere in the middle there, oftentimes you are going to be subject to being ostracized and discriminated against and condemned, and I mean, just because people are they're not comfortable with it, and I think there does need to be a lot more discussion when it comes to that. And I was saying, if you can look at nature, and if in nature there are creatures that are two genders, like worms are male and female. Oysters. If that exists in in nature, and there's creatures like that, why wouldn't there be human beings that are like that? And why wouldn't there be the diversity of sexuality and gender expressions within the human race?
Absolutely. And there are some creatures in which they can transform or they can switch at will their sex or gender. Well, I guess it would be sex, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
exactly. And I mean, look at the male seahorse is the one that carries the babies. So I mean, there's a lot of that, but I don't think people. I think what it is there's a lot of fear. People wanting to fit in and conform based on their particular society, and they're just not able to, or they don't make the effort to think out of the box. To really look at the world, look at the universe, and see all the diversity that there is.
So, what was the question? Hold on, let me just remember this question I was going to ask. What was I going to ask? Oh my God. Okay, maybe I'm not meant to ask that. Back in these days when you were tormented by especially these boys, and they would use this language, specifically words like sissy, why do you think that word and those types of words in particular, comparing you to a female, why do you think that was degrading?
I think it was the energy behind the word. I think that's what it was, because they were used the words were used in a slanderous way, and usually it came with being ostracized, and it came with sometimes with violence. If the word had been used in a matter of fact way, or even a nice way,
or a flirty way.
Yeah, or a flirty way, that would have been fine. But it's the energy behind the word. So, it's kind of like, if two gay men call each other faggot, it doesn't have any power because they're both gay. Mm-hmm. But if you have an alpha male that's walking down the street screaming at a homosexual male, you fucking faggot, it's the same word, but it's used in a hurtful, slanderous way.
Absolutely. I think that's such a profound point, because it's not so much what you say as in the intent and the context in which you say it. I mean, that can make the meaning of these words shift 100% in the other direction.
Exactly.
And now I do remember what it is that I wanted to ask. Going back to, gender roles and people believing or saying, you're a boy, you should not be acting this way, and girls should do one thing and boys should do another, and they should not really mix or cross roles. One of the traditional arguments in support of this, especially in Orthodox Christianity, would be, in the Bible it says, man is made in the image of God, and God is a male, and that would be given as evidence or support for the traditional gender roles. What would you say to this?
If you look at a lot of the world, the value of a woman and what a female brings to our existence here on the planet is oftentimes so diminished. And I think it really goes back to the root of chauvinism and men being intimidated by the power of a woman. When you even think of the procreation process, the man only has one part in it, and that's the insemination part, which is very pleasurable for him, and it's usually done over with in a matter of minutes. If the woman gets pregnant, she has to then carry this baby for 9 months. Once the baby comes to full term, she then has to now push this baby out of her. And then once the baby comes out, she then has to nourish the baby. I have a question. Who has more to do with the procreation process? Okay, so, I think that we have to really look at that as a human race. Like, you go to certain countries and women are just so, they're almost like second and third class citizens. And I think that's kind of rooted into back to the Bible, where why does God have to refer to as him and he? Mm-hmm. God is an energy, a divine energy that I think has a duality of female and male. Why can't we say, Mother God? I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I think religion is doctrine and religion is man. And I'm not negating the Bible, because there are some, I love some of the Psalms. I love some of those Psalms, but what I'm saying is that there were men that wrote that book. Just like any other holy book that was written, man wrote it. Now, they may have been classified as holy men or spiritual men, but it's still someone's interpretation of, I guess, what God told them. You get it? I use a scenario all the time. I'm going to say it to you. Hurricane Andrews, the city of Homestead. Let's say it was 2,000 years ago. And this hurricane, first of all, we didn't even know that they were called. We hadn't named them hurricanes yet. But this storm comes out of nowhere, and the city of Homestead is demolished. The holy person in that city runs to his scroll and writes that this storm is coming and tearing down our city. We have sinned. The people here in Homestead have done horrible things, and we're being punished by God because of that. Okay, they all die. We find the scroll 1,000 years later. What are we reading? We're reading that holy man's interpretation of a hurricane. I'm not negating that. I mean, maybe that's indeed what it was, but at the same time, I think we have to, when it comes to doctrine and religion, I think it needs to be read and interpreted more like poetry. They're like messages that are to be given from it, but kind of like in a loosely based way, when you read a poem, how it conveys certain messages, and I might hear the same thing that you hear, but I might get another message from it. So I think that's what it is when it comes to religion, as far as I'm concerned. We're now coming into a time where people are kind of moving away from religion and doctrine, and they're getting more spiritual.
Absolutely. And we also know, when we're talking about the Bible specifically, in addition to men writing them, there were several times where male bishops were the ones selecting which books were considered holy and to be in this canon, and which books or scrolls were not. And the ones thrown out, every single gospel that was either centered around a woman or was purported to be written by a woman or written in the spirit of a woman, such as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene or the Acts of Thecla, all of those were thrown out.
It's something chauvinism. Yeah, definitely. Because why would those women scriptures or gospels be thrown out? I mean, come on. And every person that's walking on the planet came out of a woman at that time, and just trying to suppress, I think, the power that a woman does have.
And so going back to, you when you were younger and you're dealing with your contemporaries, when these people you went to school with, especially those who were critical of you, who had gut reactions of hate, when they viewed you and they saw you as a little boy, what do you think that they saw in you? What do you think they interpreted you as?
When I think about those moments and how I was treated, I don't know if they were able to really see me. I think they were reacting to whatever ignorance and fear they had. Because if they had truly seen me, they would have seen a loving, beautiful spirit. Okay? And I can say that with confidence because I know that as a child, I gave that off. But I think that they weren't able to see it. And I remember Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple and a number of other books. I heard her say something once that really struck me. And she said, when I see something beautiful, I rejoice in it. But then in the next minute, I get sad because I know that there's going to be someone that comes along that will want to destroy that beauty.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, when I said how people would say, why do I smile so much? Why am I so happy? What do I have? Why, what am I so happy for? Like, you would think that people would be happy to be around someone that's happy. But, maybe some of these people weren't happy, and when they saw me in my happiness and me just being happy-go-lucky and skipping along my merry way, they got angry because they didn't have it and they wanted it. And I'm just speaking from one perspective. I mean, it could have been many different because, it's all perception and everyone has their perception. So who knows what they were thinking about me when they saw me. I mean, you'd probably have to go and ask all those boys that attacked me and bullied me and to really get the true answer of what they were seeing.
Yeah.
But I can speak for what I believe I was giving. And see, unfortunately, because I was getting so many negative messages, I started to believe the messages. I started to believe that I was ugly, that I was no good, that I should be ashamed of myself. Because, when you as a child, you're kind of trying to find your way. And if you're getting, like, more negative messages than positive messages, I started to believe these things.
There is hate present in the world and misunderstanding or misidentification and, this projection of dislike that we're talking about, and the fact that, there, for whatever reason, humans can't seem to help themselves to tear down and criticize and belittle each other. And, that fact just kind of reminds you that these forces are present in the world, and unfortunately they're very strong, and we all will encounter them.
And so I believe that strongly, and I've seen it in my life over and over again.
Rajée Narayan Singh, thank you so much for being on Memory Lane.
Oh, my pleasure, and I love you.
Thank you very much. I always love talking to you, and you kind of always are such a spiritual beacon that every time I talk to you, it's very refreshing, and it helps remind me kind of what this life is all about.
Well, thank you. And that's what my focus is. I mean, beyond the story of my black market injections,
yeah,
I'm an activist.
That's what the hidden story of your life is.
Yes, I'm an activist. I'm an author. I'm an actress. I'm a mystic.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hoping that people will really be able to see in me. That's the black market injections, and that whole story has given me more of a platform. And I guess that's the way it was supposed to manifest.
Yes.
So be it. But at the same time, my focus is on using my life to impact the world in positive ways.
Absolutely. That's, the black market injections, in a sense, you could see as kind of the Trojan horse in which you have been gifted to enter the discussion and enter the media world, where if your audience is able to look a little bit deeper, they can see the true meaning behind your life.
Exactly. Oh, my God. And that's why I love you so much, because I know you see it.
Thank you. Well, okay, so tell, before we have to end, can you please tell people how they can find you and your continuing projects on social media?
Well, sure. Okay, well, I'm on Facebook, and I have a few Facebook pages. But if you put Rajee, all my pages should pop up. So you can find me there on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, Rajee Narayan. So if you put Rajee on YouTube, my YouTube channel should pop up. I have my book, Beyond Face Value. You can get that at any of the online book retailers.
And I highly recommend this book for anybody who likes to read memoirs. It's fabulous.
Thank you. And, I continue to work on my acting. I mean, I've had a couple roles, and I really am hoping that, I'll be able to do more of that. I want... my intentions are to just keep living my life and doing my thing, and I'm just trusting that the universe will open up and more wonderful opportunities will come my way.
I have no doubt, because, I mean, if this past year and just the progress that you've made in the past year is any indication, that there will be continuing great things in your upward trajectory.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. From your lips to Mother God's ears.
Exactly.
Well, it's been playing. I was in the premiere.
Wow.
And it's been playing this whole week. I was at the gas station earlier today, and I had a woman that she saw me getting out of my car, and she recognized me, and she pulled in just to tell me that she loves me. She saw the show last night, so they've been playing it. So you'll probably be able to catch it.
Yeah, I definitely want to. That's so great. In the premiere, which pretty much means that they probably found your story to be one of the more compelling ones,
Yeah, well, I think so, and the producers kind of led on to me that the network really loved me and the way I came across on camera, and that my story really was compelling to them. So yeah, and the premiere was actually on the 14th of May, and it's still playing up until last night when the woman said today that she saw me last night. So they've been running my segment. They really have.
One of the older botched episodes that I did see was the, I don't remember his name, but the media calls him the Human Ken doll. I think I did see his botched episode.
Yeah, he's great. Him and I, we've come in contact a few times. Because we were on Trisha together. And then for some reason, life keeps bringing us back together.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so you've been doing well?
Well, I'm still here.
You know what? Let me tell you, that's a big thing, because with everything going on in this world, sometimes it's like, okay, do we really want to be here, or do we want to check out?
Oh, my God. Exactly.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I really don't know what's going on, but, I'm still here, so. But anyway,
I just keep asking to be led. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Keep asking for direction, putting it out there.
Yes. And follow those instincts and follow those opportunities that do come. So, I probably haven't. I don't think that this has been time wasted. But it is uncertain times,
Look at the Salem witch burning.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those women were spiritualists.
Yes.
Because they weren't doing it the way that everyone else was doing it. They were killed because of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But they were just practicing spirituality and connecting to God in their own way. in their own unique way.